I am making another attempt to lose the weight that I should not be carrying, particularly around my middle where the excess is carried. I'm very good at losing weight. Very good. Very, very good at losing weight. I'm terrible at keeping the weight loss going. Whichever method I try, and you name a diet, I've tried it and I've lost a lot of weight on it. And guess what? It's come back. And so, I've been looking at Wegovy and Manjaro and this class of diet, and I have friends who have the money to pay the ruinously expensive prices that you have to pay for these drugs. In South Africa, yes, some medical aids will pay for them, but you pay for them out of your medical savings account. And 3 weeks of a Manjaro pen, and boom, your medical savings account for the year is gone. So in a way, I've been quite glad that I haven't had, because I would lose weight and I'd lose weight quickly based on the experience of friends and acquaintances and colleagues. And then I go, oh, but I've run out of the money I have available to keep putting Wegovy, Manjaro, anything else into my body. Now what? And I read on the BBC a couple of articles, also in the Times of London, about new research from the University of Oxford that says people who lose a lot of weight taking these jabs and then stop, and they stop because they think they've lost enough weight, or they stop because they can't afford to keep going with them, they regain weight 4 times faster than those who rely on traditional dieting and exercise. Dr. Sam West joins us now, lead author on the study I'm talking about, and a postdoctoral researcher at the University of Oxford. Sam, good afternoon. Thank you for your time.
Hi, John. Good afternoon.
Talking about time, have you had enough time? Have enough people been on this class of drug long enough for reasonably solid conclusions to be drawn?
Yeah, so I think these medications, semaglutide and tirzepatide, or otherwise known as Wegovy or tirzepatide, are relatively new. Um, so we do need more data on long-term effects of while you're on the medication. But as we highlight in our work, we also need to find out what happens after you stop the medication. We only followed people for 12 months, but what we really need to see is what happens to people's body weight for many months and many years to come after they stop the medication.
But the initial work with people who've stopped is it doesn't stay, not that universally doesn't stay off. I mean, some people use the magic wand of one of these drugs in order to change eating habits, and those change habits stay. But like with, the carnivore diet, like with name whatever diet you want, if you follow it reasonably enthusiastically, you're going to lose weight. You stop it and you put it back on, and it appears, based on initial evidence, that impact is worth with this quality of drug, with this kind of drug.
Mm. Yes, exactly. As you point out, weight regain after any period of weight loss is common. I think the thing that we found surprising in our paper is just how fast people regain the weight after medication. Um, People who stopped taking medication for weight loss were estimated to return to their baseline weight 1.7 years after stopping the medication. When you compare this to people who stopped behavioral programs, they weren't estimated to return to their baseline weight until just under 4 years after stopping medication.
Do you have an idea as to why that would be, Sam?
Uh, we don't have any sort of conclusive evidence on why that might be. We have speculated on it. We think that when people engage with a behavior change program, during the course of losing weight, they develop skills to manage their hunger, their eating cues, in order to help them to lose weight. Um, the medications, on the other hand, work to reduce or completely suppress those feelings of hunger. And we think that once the medication has stopped, people may not have developed those sort of coping mechanisms to last beyond the treatment that are the only recourse once treatment stopped. Where those people who have been practicing those different skills during a behavioral program can continue to implement them, beyond the end of the intervention. And we think that this may be one reason that helps people keep the weight off for a bit longer.
And as you said at the beginning, you need to monitor people who are on these particular kinds of drug for 5, 10 years, to see what happens to their body, to what happens to their body chemistry, body physiology, all that sort of thing. But is there anything in the makeup of these drugs that suggest that there might be long term negative impacts that are not being thought about at the moment? Or does the makeup of the drug suggest that, you know what, if you don't have an immediate reaction of some negative kind to it, it's probably the case that you will be able to continue taking them for 5 years, 10 years, for the rest of your life if you have the money to pay for them? Or is it a case that we simply don't know?
Well, these medications or similar have been used for diabetes for many years now. So we do have long-term data for people who have used these GLP-1 medications to manage their diabetes. When these are prescribed for weight management or weight loss, they are prescribed at higher doses. So we don't have long-term data for people using these medications at the doses necessary to induce this level of weight loss. But we can take reassurance from the fact that we have maybe 15, 20 years worth of data from people who have been using this medication to help manage their blood sugar.
So how does one interpret this research? Stay away from it. For sure,
Um,
if you want to give it a go, because so many countries in the world have such a problem with obesity, and some of the attitude towards these GLP-1s is here is a silver bullet. There are very few silver bullets in health, and yet is one. It does work. So take them if you can afford them. If you consult a medical person and they say it's appropriate for you to take this and are prepared to prescribe it, but don't expect long-term miracles. How does one approach the presence of GLP-1s as a weight loss mechanism?
well, I think they're undoubtedly a good thing. They're clearly very effective for helping people lose weight. Um, but as you point out, they work for while you take them. And I think what this highlights is that obesity is a chronic and relapsing condition that requires long term treatment. Whether that's long term treatment with medication or intermittent medication use with behavioral support, we don't know what is the right treatment. And particularly for the right person, it may benefit some individuals to be on these medications for life. Um, Whereas perhaps other people, short intermittent uses might be helpful. But that's what we really need to uncover is what is best for long-term weight maintenance loss, because that clearly the medications aren't the answer to that when it comes to a short course of treatment.
One of my listeners, Sheila, responding to what you said about there's lots of long-term evidence about people who take them at lower doses for diabetes. And Sheila asked, would lower doses be better for avoiding the weight gain after one stops? Again, you don't have the data to make a definitive statement about that, but what would be the informed speculation in answer to that question?
Yeah, we that's not something that we investigated. It wasn't part of our review, but it's something that people are looking into. Um, Lowering the dose for long-term maintenance. I can't really speculate on how
Okay,
effective that is,
yeah.
but it's one of the possible options beyond treatment with full doses, perhaps.
It might sound like I'm asking you to give clinical advice to listeners in their hundreds or tens of thousands, people you don't know and probably never will meet. But just looking at your research, and is there a general point you would like to make to those many of us who are overweight and would prefer not to be, about these GLP-1 antagonistic, whatever they're called, as a route out of being overweight?
So I think that they should be seen as a good option. for weight loss. There are many different behavior change programs that we also know are effective. But if the medication route is something that you would like to take, then it's not that we wouldn't suggest this, but what we would reinforce is that behavior change during treatment, and some kind of support from externally, whether that's a healthcare system, is really important. We know that that helps people lose more weight while they take the medication. And clearly, people who are going to be starting the medication need to be aware of the fact that this is either a long-term commitment, they will need to stay on the medication for a long time. And if that's not the intention, then some kind of behavior change while they're on the medication to hopefully keep the weight off afterwards will be necessary.
Thank you very, very much indeed for giving us some of your valuable time, Dr. Sam West, postdoctoral researcher at the University of Oxford and lead author on the study about which we have been talking.